that's one thing I was shocked about. We're streaming, we're 5 minutes out. Okay, that was one thing I was shocked about, is how many people it affected, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a growing number. It's all kinds of different folks.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I have time to grab some water?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we're 5 minutes
Okay.
out right now. We're streaming already, and
Okay.
you know they're going to be picking up our conversation too. So just
Okay.
FYI.
Yep. I'll be right back. I might try to use the restroom one more time too.
No worries, no worries. There you are. Some sound from him on his
walking.
Yeah, he's walking. Yeah, that's pretty loud. That's pretty real. Hello, hello everybody.
And if I want to share with everybody, Burnie, share to a group?
No, just go to your site, go hit share,
Oh, okay.
and then go to your
Gotcha.
hit share, and then write post. Okay,
Oh,
and then just post. Yeah.
So boom. Okay.
Yeah.
Bam.
Don't say that, Tony.
Don't jinx us.
Hey, Jerry, can you shut the door there for us? Thanks, buddy.
That's what you said. It's
They
okay.
just walk in front of the cameras. Don't
That's
worry
why they
about
call.
it.
That's why they call it behind the scenes.
It's a BTS show.
Nice and easy. It's a BTS show.
Okay.
Take your time. Take your time. You're sending out to YouTube also?
Yeah.
Could you send out the WeChat? Could you? Just out of curiosity. Yeah, WeChat. That's the.
If he had the
Asian.
credentials, he could.
That's the Asian Facebook. You'd have to have Asian subtitles.
You know, I had a WeChat account about 4 years ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Ah.
I decided it was just too much overkill, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bill, right?
AB5 bill, yeah.
I'm sharing this to my AB5.
Great.
To get the lowdown on this bill and how it affects you.
Awesome.
Nice,
Great.
nice.
Thank you. Yep.
So,
Thanks for coming in,
You know,
buddy. Yeah.
good to see you, Mark.
Yeah.
Are you going to give sort of the background on why this bill came about? You going to introduce this?
I think he's
give a
going
little
to,
rundown
Eric,
of history,
gives-
Eric will.
and you know, we're not up on the monitor.
There we are. Oh, almost. There we go. Yeah. Okay, stand by, guys. Good job. Good job.
Hey everybody, how you doing? 2 o'clock. Must be Burnie's Applebox. I am
Gotta be with
I am
Burnie.
here with my main man, Gary Hyman. And I got this wacky little thing sticking out of my ear here because we have a special guest coming from afar down in San Diego, Eric Addison. Eric, you there, buddy? There he is.
I am. Can you
The
guys hear me?
man. Very good. Very well. Very well.
All right.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just trying to get used to being online here. It's a new experience for me.
Yeah, good, good. Well, maybe we'll get you more used to it. One thing we're going to talk about AB5, and I just want to preface this a little bit. Just for anybody who may not know, may not have heard the word, it is I don't know exactly how you would say it. It's like the anti-freelancers bill, right? You know what I mean? It puts such restrictions on the 1099 form of working,
Right.
And all that. And I know Eric can probably give me a better description than this. That got passed, and it is law in California right now. So, it's affecting people. You can no longer just be a person who goes out and freelances.
Right.
You have to be either a corporate entity, a sole proprietor, or you have to be an employee. So now the state of California has decided that, it's better for everybody to be an employee, which is entirely unrealistic. First of all, business isn't I can't hire very many people. I don't have the income. I'm a small business.
Right.
I am an S corporation, but I can't bring everybody who I need on a shoot onto my payroll. That's not
impossible.
realistic.
No.
And so essentially, it's requiring people to be employees if they go to work for you, just like in a regular 2 or 3 day shoot.
Sure.
You need to hire those people as an employee. So it's completely unrealistic. I think it's unrealistic, the people who made it. I think it's unrealistic, for what is expected.
Right.
And Eric is one, he has been very active in this. He met with Loreana Gonzales, who is the representative from his district. I don't know his exact district, but down in San Diego. And he had a talk with her in her offices. And also, he put an event on that had over 300 people show up to it just down in San Diego alone. And this affects everyone. It's
down the line.
Translators, it's music performers, it's wedding event planners and their caterers and all kinds of things. So, Eric, how badly did I butcher that explanation?
No, I think you did a pretty good job at explaining it. It's a bill that's far-reaching. I think the intention of it kind of was initially Uber and Lyft drivers, but they wrote such a broad bill that it's sweeping up a ton of other industries, and it's really making things a lot more difficult. There's a lot of ambiguity out there as to how to proceed. Not every job you can just make someone an employee, and so it's created a lot of confusion, and a lot of people have lost jobs, income over this, and it's a bit of a mess, but
in just the first month of the year, let's go. Can you give me the best description that you can of the AB bill? And let me just say this too, is we are going to be putting some posts in the comments of the show here, which give you reference points to go over and take a look at that too. So give me your best description of AB5.
So kind of starting at the beginning, there was a court case that came out, I believe it was 2018. It was a court case called Dynamex, and basically the company Dynamex had misclassified. It was a question of misclassification of employees. People that were employees got moved to independent contractor status, and they sued the company. And the case went all the way to the California Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided on that case that yes, these people should be employees. And basically, the standard that California had been using in the past to determine whether somebody was an employee or whether they were a contractor, which was kind of, I think it's an 11-point test called the Borello test. The court basically said, we're going to shrink that down to 3 points, an ABC test. And that was very restrictive. You know, it basically, are the people doing the same course of business as you? Do they, trying to remember all the points now. It's like, do they have the same location? Are they, do you control what they do? It was very restrictive. And so that, once that passed, California, the legislatures decided, well, we need to codify that into law, and that's where AB 5 came from. It came out of that court case. So they basically took what the court decided, these very restrictive rules for whether someone's a contractor, a freelancer, or an employee, and put it into a law. Now, when they did that, they were gracious enough to give certain industries exemptions. Lawyers, some doctors, realtors, people that have a lot of lobbying power, basically, in Sacramento, got exemptions. And a whole bunch of other industries did not. But the one thing that they put in there that is the one saving grace of this bill is the business-to-business exemption. And that has its own set of hurdles and restrictions to it. But it's the one thing that I think for our industry, we could use to possibly navigate this through. The thing that I'm going to say up front is I am not a lawyer. If you are working in our industry, or any industry for that matter, and you are going to try to use this exemption, you really need to go meet with an employment attorney, talk about your situation, have them go through the test with you, and figure all that kind of stuff out. I did that for my industry, for my company, and we feel somewhat confident that we will be able to use this business-to-business exemption for our crew members. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's basically how the bill kind of came about, and where we are at the moment.
Okay, so and I know there have been, just as of late, just in the last few days, I think the writers were given an exemption. Is that correct?
I don't think that any exemptions have come about. I know, so Loreana Gonzales, who wrote the bill, posted on Twitter, I think either this morning or yesterday, that she is, and she had told us in our meeting that she's working on a new bill, which is AB 1850. And that bill is supposed to be a clarifying bill, to clarify a lot of the points that are a little ambiguous. And in that bill will be some more exemptions, or I don't know if it's exemptions is the right word to use, but it'll be more clarifying language for writers and people in journalists, essentially. Because right now, journalists have, if you're a freelance journalist, you have a cap of 35 articles or pieces per year that you can submit to any publication before they have to make you an employee. And I think that number, from what I understand, was just sort of arbitrarily picked. I don't know how they thought that 35 would be the standard, but anyway, they're going to be correcting that. And she announced that there would be some other clarification for other industries as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But as of today, AB 5, the way it was passed, is still in effect.
Okay. Okay. Got you. Now, tell me about your meeting with her. How did that come about? What was your subject matter in there? What was her demeanor? What was her, I guess, just, how open was she to listen to us?
So how the meeting came about was I basically called her office. I actually pinged her on Twitter because she's somewhat active on Twitter. So I basically, pinged her on Twitter and said, hey, look, I'd like to talk to you. I work in non-Hollywood, non-union video production. Would love to talk to you about how it's affected our business. She wrote me back and said, call my office. So I did. I had to wait about a month for the meeting. And so, yeah, I think I called at the end of December. We got the appointment for January 31st. And so I went in with a few local, friends who work in the industry as well. One who's a gaffer, one who does graphic design and motion graphics. And then the rest were production company owners, a director. And, to her credit, it's funny when you meet with politicians, you never really know, I always think there's a great line from the movie The Hunt for Red October where one of the politicians is talking to Jack Ryan, the character. He says, "I'm a politician, which means if I'm not kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops." And so I kind of go into anything with any politician. I always wonder, like, how much is pre-planned? How much is, you just trying to, make us happy? But anyway, after about 10 minutes of meeting, her assistant came in and gave us the 5-minute wrap up. And to her credit, she waved her off twice and stayed with us for about 35 minutes listening to us. And she seemed pretty open and receptive. She made it clear that we probably wouldn't be getting an exemption as an industry, which was disappointing, but I didn't have high hopes that would happen anyway. But she seemed receptive. Her assistant took a lot of notes, and we gave her the pain points of the business to business, where that could cause problems for our industry. And, she said that would be something that she would look into or possibly address. So we'll see what happens. But she was, very cordial. She gave us a lot of time. She let us talk. She listened to us.
She at least listened. She at least listened. Yeah. So let me ask you, what were the pain points that you presented to her, just in general, of why that was going to be tough for us?
The one big one is, of course, the control. So if you work under business to business, the first point in that list is, how much is the employer or the hiring, business controlling the person that you hire? And that's where we were a bit concerned. I mean, we work with actors. We tell actors what to do. I hire a camera operator, I hire a gaffer, and I'm kind of instructing them on things. And, she addressed that by saying, well, it really refers to a level of micromanagement. It's one thing to hire somebody and kind of tell them what to do. I might tell the gaffer, here's the mood I'm looking for, here's the kind of lighting style I want, and then I go let them do their thing, which is usually how it works. And I might critique it a little bit, but I'm not telling them what light to use. I'm not telling them exactly where to put the light, how to focus the light, what kind of gels to use. And so that's what she says is sort of what is the heart of that bill. It's micromanaging. So for her, she said, we shouldn't be too wrapped up in that one, and because it's easy to read that very conservatively and say, oh well, are you controlling them too much? But what we told her was, it really doesn't matter what you say to us right now. It only really matters what happens when we're in an audit situation and someone from the EDD is telling us what is right and what's wrong. And when the law is written so ambiguous, it's hard to really, sleep easy at night wondering what's really going to happen. So that was one. There's another one in there that refers to working directly with the client. And so that's kind of problematic too, because, as a small production company, you are looking at the entire company here at 100 Acre Films. It's me. Yeah. And so if I have 2 jobs in a day, I get 2 gigs in one day, I'm going to usually be with one crew, and I might want to hire out another crew to go do that. I might show up and check in on them, make sure everything's good, talk to the client real quick, and then bug out. But under this provision of, not interfacing directly with the client, that would run afoul of that. So basically now I can only do my company can only have 1 shoot per day where I'm at. I can't be having 2 shoots. So that kind of limits my business and how much I can really grow. So that was something that I addressed with her.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were the 2 big ones that I kind of was pushing for. Having a client list and that's another requirement in there of having a lot of clients. For people just starting out in the industry, they don't have a lot of clients. Right. They're just trying to get started. So that was something that, we kind of mentioned to her as well is a bit tricky for us. I remember what it was like coming out of film school. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any connections. And, I was lucky to get, $150 for a PA gig on a music video that, I thought this is my way in. So,
right.
So those were some of the big ones.
Yeah. I wonder how they would go about the EDD or whomever, and prove your client list to them, or what would qualify. You know what I mean? As a client list, that's.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of out-of-state clients myself, so, that's the.
Yeah, it's going to take some vetting, I think, on our parts, to sort of look at folks and say, okay, do you have clients? Do you have a website? Basically, are you a legit business?
Yeah.
Do you have the business license? Do you have all those things? And then, do you have some clients that you can point to? Do you have a website that you show work that you've done or clients that have hired you? And that's going to be what everybody's going to have now.
Yeah.
In order to get started.
It sounds, first of all, like pretty tough to enforce. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the type of thing that if you do have a legitimate business, sole proprietorship, something like that, you could probably, skate by somewhat.
Sure.
But
Sure.
we can't do that too. I mean, that's
No.
not a plan. That's a prayer.
That's always been the plan.
So I want to get down to the mechanics of this in a little bit too, but tell me about this meeting you had. You had an unbelievable turnout, right?
Yeah, we did. So last month on the 15th, we've been wanting to have a meeting for a while now. I had known about this law since summer of last year when it hit my radar, and I was kind of waiting to see whether it would really pass or not. Sort of wishful thinking. I kind of knew it was going to pass.
Yeah.
And so when it did at the end of September, I run Premiere Pro user group for editors down here in San Diego, and I told DJ who runs the group with me, I said, you know what, we need to talk about this, and wanted to have a meeting before the end of last year so that people could prepare, but end of the year always gets a little bit crazy. So
yeah,
I went to meet with an employment attorney here in town, and at the end of the meeting, I asked her, I said, is there anybody that could present on this? And she said, oh yeah, there's a guy in my office who would be perfect for that. So with about 3 weeks prep lead time, we got a location, we got the word out, and it's amazing. The film industry, as you guys probably know, it's like most of us are kind of introverted in a lot of ways. And
yeah.
we don't ever come out. We don't come out for anything.
No.
And I posted up the meeting announcement on a Sunday, and I think by Tuesday afternoon, we already had 100 people signed up. By the following weekend, we had 200 people signed up, and we had a 320 max capacity. And yeah, we were sold out probably a week before the event took place. And I had people calling me. I felt it was the closest I ever felt to like being a rock star manager.
Yeah.
People would call me up and say, "Hey, I know it's sold out, but you can get me in, right?"
Wow.
No, I can't get you in, man. I'm sorry. We literally have no more seats for everybody. But we had 300 people show up, and the lawyer that we had from the law firm here in San Diego gave a great presentation, went through the entire law. We did about an hour-long Q&A where people got up and just asked a lot of questions about it, and kind of just let everybody know kind of where things are and what they need to do to prepare. At the end of the meeting, I think a lot of people were still a little bit like, okay, I'm still not entirely sure what to do. And I think the lawyer kind of made a good point of, yeah, none of us are. This law is still so gray. It hasn't been tried in court. There's no precedent for it. So we're all going to have to kind of go through this ride together.
Yeah, no, I think that is a very good description of it too, is that, I sit here, even as much as I try to find out about it, it's still so foggy bottom to me. It's like, I think I have somewhat of a handle how you might take things and try to, do the business to business deal, but how it works. And now I'm getting hit, honestly, with the issue of it. You know what I mean? Of paying people. You know?
And Eric, just Gary Hyman here, just giving you a shout out. Thanks for being on the show. So at the end of the day, why this bill? We've all been piecemeal workers all these years, and if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. So talking about enforcement, what's going to be the bottom line? You know, they catch you going over 30 days or whatever. You get your, you know, you have your hand in the over 30-day cookie jar.
Right.
And what are they going to do? Take your business license away? They're going to put you out of business? Are they going to fine you? What's the deal on that?
So that's a really good question. You know, enforcement is going to be the thing that we're all kind of waiting to see how this plays out. They announced late or the end of the year, or actually it was last month at some point, but that they had given $20 million for enforcement of the bill. So, you know, it's not like they're not going to go after people on this. The real question will be, like you said, you know, how will it be enforced? That's a good question. No one seems to really know. We're going to have to kind of wait and find out. I know that the penalties are, I think it's $25,000 for each person that's misclassified. I think that, and I have to look over the penalties again, but I believe it's like if you willingly misclassify somebody, as you know, then it's a $25,000 fine. If it comes out that you negligently misclassified them, it might be a lesser fine, but you're still going to pay a fine. You're still going to have to pay all the back taxes, all the workers' comp insurance, all the penalties for however long. I mean, it could get extremely costly depending upon, you know, who it is and how long they worked for you and how much they made. But yeah, the enforcement, I don't know. You know, I don't know if it's going to be something where they're just going to be putting all of our companies in a hat and drawing names and then saying, okay, who's filed 1099 contractors with their taxes, and then just go after those people. Or if it's going to be, they're going to wait for, you know, complaints to come in against companies and then investigate them that way. I know in the past, that's kind of the way that it's worked. I know there have been people who've been randomly audited, so that does happen. So yeah, that's a good question. I kind of want to believe in my heart of hearts that, you know, and I have no proof of this, but that because the bill is in such flux right now, that was one of the things that Loreana had mentioned to us in the meeting, was that even the EDD, who is, you know, one of the groups that would be doing these audits and investigating these things, you know, they need to get up to speed on this law. They need to know what all the new requirements are, what all the new guidelines are, and what the law states before they can go out and start busting people on it and auditing people. And so I have to assume that there's going to be, I don't want to call it a grace period, but that there's going to be some time for everybody to kind of get up to speed, and then they'll start looking at folks and moving forward. And we'll have, at that point, they'll maybe give us a better idea of how it'll all work. But you know, the bill will still have been in effect, so that doesn't mean you can go out and do whatever you want right now and figure, well, if they're not going to start enforcing it until later in the year, I'll worry about that then. No, it'll all be retroactive. So if you start misclassifying people now and don't do all the proper steps, and then they get you in December or even sometime next year, if the bill doesn't go away, then it'll be retroactive till now. And I believe I read somewhere that it could be retroactive into 2019. I need to double check that, but I thought I remember reading that somewhere. So
wow.
Yeah,
wow.
The bill has some teeth.
Yeah.
Scary.
And misclassification, is that saying somebody was an employee that wasn't, or is that just hiring somebody who is a freelancer and you're how does it work?
Yeah, so misclassification is really if you hire somebody, you know, if I hire somebody that I know is not a legit business, you know, working under AB5, let's put it that way. I know they're not a legit business. They don't meet all the requirements. They're working here in my office. You know, I'm paying them hourly. I mean, by all rights, they should be an employee, but I'm just making them a contractor so I don't have to pay all the benefits and do everything else. That would be misclassification if they don't meet all those requirements. I'm paying them hourly.
I mean, tell me some of the people that were there. Now, you know, it's really easy because I just sort of look down my lane and I see us, but give me some other ideas of the occupations that are affected.
Well, occupations that are affected by the bill are pretty wide ranging. I mean, there's interpreters, there are physical therapists, there are the trucking industry, of course, who they've kind of gotten an exemption right now because of a federal law that AB5 kind of run afoul of. You know, but yeah, I mean, everybody from software programmers, writers, journalists, photographers, you know, community theater, I mean, the list just goes on and on. I mean, when there's a group on Facebook that's freelancers against AB5, and I've been amazed at people that have been posting in there and what their industry is and how this is affecting them. Every day, it's sort of like, oh, I didn't realize that was a big freelance industry, or
Yes,
in some cases, that was even
the
an
same
industry.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that Facebook group, I believe, has about 8,000 members currently.
Yes, it does. Over 8,000. Yeah. In
Yeah,
fact, maybe
so
if I could get Tony or somebody, maybe one of the guys, freelancers against AB5, if we could put that in the comments too. And just to let you know, we are putting different things. We put the bill itself, AB5, in there in the comments, and we also have a couple links of how do you get a hold of your assembly person or
Yes.
senator, state senator, and contact them, as well as some of a description from a lady wrote this. Rustine, I think is her last name. I can't recall it. I'm not looking at it, but she did a pretty good job of laying out who's affected by it too. So, and I would encourage everybody that's interested to go over to freelancers affected by AB5, because it is a real eye opener. You know, all the notations that people were getting from out of state that says we can't use you anymore. You know what I mean? And really the damage is done once this is out.
Yeah, and Burnie and Eric too. You know, what's the bottom line? Where you know, when you sweep off this bill and peel back the onion, what is the bottom line to AB5? Why? Is it? They want their taxes up front now. What's the deal, Eric? What's your thoughts?
Well, that's so the high level stuff that they want you to see is it's obviously, you know, they'll tell you it's to protect workers, which, you know, I'm all for. I will admit that at one point in my career, I was working for a company, was probably pretty sure I was misclassified as an employee. But again, I was starting out. I didn't care. I was making good money and I was working, and that's all that I was concerned with. But and so they're going after companies that are really misclassifying people and to their detriment. So I understand that part of the law. So it is a tax revenue thing. They estimate, I believe it's about $7 billion that's lost to the state because of people just not reporting their income because they're working as contractors. So there is that to it. You know, if you peel that back though and kind of look at the underneath of it, you know, like the tax revenue thing, I can understand that. But the last time I checked, California is running a surplus every year of money.
Yeah.
So are you really crying about money when you have so much of it that you're running a surplus? Why do you really need more? And then the other side of it too is you have to look at you know, who's really behind this and who stands to benefit the most, and it's a union thing. And I'm not going to badmouth unions here, but this is really a union-driven bill. You know, the unions are supporting it. They back Loreana Gonzales 100%. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she used to be a part or run one of the unions or be heavily involved with unions. I know they give her a lot of money in her campaigns. And so it's a union thing. Union membership is down, and this is a way to push people into being employees and then joining unions, which is what they want. You know, so, you know, without getting too political, I mean, I will say one thing about this that I thought I was really surprised about, and I think I had mentioned this to Burnie once before in our early conversations about this, was there was a page, I won't say what page. There's a group on Facebook for people that work in our industry, and this page was shown to me, and somebody had posted in this group about a shoot that came up, and they wanted to hire crew. The producer wanted to make everybody contractors, and the DP was saying, well, I think we need to be employees because of the new law. And there were people that were in the group that were union members of different trades, and their comments were, yeah, take the job, get paid, and then report them, turn them in. And it wasn't just one person that said that, it was multiple people. Another group that I was with, somebody from the ASC chimed in and talked about how, this was great because we needed to get more people in the union and it was a benefit for everybody and it was protecting people and but it was really just sort of and I'm not bagging on the ASC, I love the ASC, but it was really sort of a union push. And so, I think at the end of the day, that's kind of where this was really trying to go, was just to get people as employees so they can get more union members and get more dues.
Wow.
Yeah. I would, I don't think anybody is served by this turning into a union, non-union versus thing.
Yeah.
That is not,
right.
That is, I mean, I respect the unions.
Yep.
I own my own shop, so I didn't get involved with the unions, but I support unions, and we'd live in a much tougher world if there were no unions. We all agree with that, I think. Yeah. But there's also another side to this, is the unions don't want everybody who's in the industry either. So if you brought it down to the way the unions work right now, as my understanding, and I am not a union member, but just as my understanding, most of the guys that are working in there are working for benefits.
Right.
And you have to do so many hours in a given period of time to qualify for your medical.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, to me, that is not right, frankly. I think if you're a member of a union, you should be able to, qualify immediately if you're in the union. It kind of reminds me of a feudal system. Well, if you pick this many beans, then the doctor will see your kid.
Right.
I just don't like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the truth is everybody went down and tried to Taft-Hartley themselves into the union. They couldn't handle it. And the way their setup is now, if there was that much influx into the union, nobody'd get their benefits because there would be way too many people. It would cut the amount of people covered way down. So I don't want to see this degenerate into that. I think basically at its heart, it's a very unfair bill. And it's a bill that assumes you need to work, you need to be an employee, which I totally disagree with. I want to tell you something. How old are you, Gary?
65.
65. Okay. Well, they've already thrown you.
I couldn't even remember.
They've already thrown you away, Gary. I'm sorry. Same with me. I'm done. I don't even count anymore. But we got a couple of guys here in the studio who are 52, 54 years old. They're both on the employment market right now. Who's going to hire them? They've got editing skills. They've all got a great number of skills that they could hire out and do service for. But who's going to hire them? Are they going to keep them? Are they going to keep them till retirement?
No.
Oh, come on. This isn't even realistic. Thinking that you can cover and people just need to be an employee and get a job. There's a reason I'm a gaffer, and a lot of it has to do with my history. First of all, I found an industry I loved, and that's one thing. But there's another determining factor in there. I graduated high school with a 1.2 grade average, okay? I didn't go to college. I dodged the draft, okay? And I made it through. I'm like, one of the lucky ones that made it past the dam. And there's a lot of people like me. I think the schools almost have a 30%, not a dropout rate, but a 30% rate of people that just get out of there and never want to learn again, unless it's on their own. My personality is more geared to somebody who can do a multiple lot of different things, just like you, I'm sure, Eric. There's a reason you're here, and that is what is it. To try to cookie cutter all of us saying that we need to be in the same employment, the same way, is just another brick in the wall as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
Give me your thoughts on that. I mean, I just don't think it's a fair category to put us all in.
Yeah, I definitely I definitely feel that in this day and age, that people who have found new ways of working should be somewhat encouraged.
Yes.
You know, and I feel like that this, you know, again, hearing all these stories from different people and how they're making money now and how they're able to survive and how well they're doing, you know, it's been really kind of amazing. It's like, wow, this is a whole thriving part of the economy that's doing really well. And I hate to see that, you know, kind of just squashed or hampered in any way. It's surprising to me that a state like California, as progressive as we like to think that we are, you know, is tackling this problem with kind of a 20th century solution. You know, and it's like we should really be, in my estimation, and my feeling is putting guardrails on this problem and on this, it's not really a problem, but on this new economy, let's say, you know, and let's figure out ways that we can encourage it, keep it, you know, legal and safe and good for everybody that's involved in it. But not just kind of come in and just say, well, you know, we're just going to make you have to be this way. You need to be working for somebody, or you need to meet all of these, you know, heavily, you know, weighted criteria in order to pass this. And it just seems backwards thinking to me. So yeah, I'm all for however you want to work, however you want to, you know, be involved. If, you know, and please understand, I wasn't trying to bash unions before. I'm all for unions. My mom was a member of the teachers union. I think they do good work. They did a lot for me growing up and my family. Yep. So if that's what you want to do, that's great. You know, but I worry when the government kind of tries to push people a certain direction when it's like, no, I kind of want to go over this way. I see an opportunity here. Let me go try that, and I'll be responsible. I'll pay my taxes. I'll obey the law. But, you know, let's not squash innovation. Let's not squash all that just because we don't fully understand it or we can't fully get money from it, you know?
Say, Eric, just clarification, is it 30 days, 35 days? What was it again?
For what?
For work, was that for per client or overall?
No. So the 35 was a number that for journalists. So if you're a freelance journalist, I believe it's 35 pieces that you can write for any one publication before they have to make you an employee.
And then what about like a grip, gaffer, camera operator? What's the deal on that?
So if you're a grip or a gaffer, you know, if you set up your own business and you become, you know, Eric Addison Grip Inc., you know, or LLC, or even just a sole prop, you know, you can go work for whoever you want to work for, you know, as long as you meet those 12 steps in the business-to-business criteria. And then beyond that, you have to meet 11 more steps in the Borello test, but with the Borello, it's not really like you have to meet all 11. You just have to kind of meet the majority of them. But yeah, if you can meet all of the 12 for the B2B exemption, you can work as a gaffer and a grip. And, you know, I mean, let's face it, most shoots that we're on go 1, 2, maybe 3 days at the most.
Well, right.
Average. You know, and then your team is going off and working on other stuff with other people. So yeah, hiring someone on for a day or 2 or 3 days, probably at the most. I think if you're going to go past 4 or 5 days and keeping somebody for a long-term project, you might want to look into payroll just to be safe. But according to the law, you know, I'm going to keep hiring my gaffer, you know, a few times a month to come out and work. And I'm just going to be paying his company now. I'm not going to be paying him.
Right. So I think we're to the point of what somebody has to pragmatically look at and think about, how do I get by this? And that is really what we're sort of telling people. I think best solution for everybody right now is to form a sole proprietorship or an LLC or an S Corp. I'm an S Corp, but that's my business, you know. And go out there and present yourself as an entity, as a business entity, and have it a business-to-business contract, which is still a little dicey because you've got things, and of course there's more onus on you financially and keeping records and track of the way things goes. But you know, there are advantages to it as well. You know, some big advantages. And that is being able to control your cash a little more, where you pay yourself a payroll, you separate the two, and then you can make investments, take more deductions,
Yes.
do all that. So there are some advantages to
Yes.
being a business. I know realistically, 10 to 15% of the people that are hearing the message or in our industry are actually going to do that.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? It would never be more than 30. Tony, do you got something?
No, I was say, I don't necessarily think that the B2B exemption is a true exemption in the form that it's written currently. There are 12 things that you have to, what's the word? Sorry, I'm blanking.
Yeah.
I am on the internet.
Have to meet.
Yeah, there are 12 things that you have to meet. But
Yeah.
not only that, I believe you also have to meet the ABC or the Borello as well. So I think
No.
as it's
Okay,
written-
hold on.
yeah.
He's taking issue with that. Go ahead, Eric.
Go ahead.
So if you are using the B2B exemption, the ABC test does not apply to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that's the way it's written currently, though, because unless
Well,
there's
he
a
got
lot of
it. He got
misinformation
it.
out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly hope that's the case.
Well, he talked to Lorraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm seeing that you
Yeah,
have to
so-
satisfy. You have to not only the 12, but also I said either the Borello or the ABC as well. It's
So
crazy.
yes, so you do so for the business to business to work, you have to meet the 12 points that are under that, and then if you meet all 12 of those, then it goes over to the Borello test.
Yeah.
And the Borello test is an 11-point test. That's the standard, I believe, from 1989 that we've worked under. And the Borello test wasn't, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't a case where you had to meet all 11 of the points. It was more of, it was a guideline that was used to look at, and you sort of ask all these questions, and then based on there wasn't any one
Yeah.
thing that would eliminate you from that. It was a much more forgiving test.
And then
Whereas
technically,
the
I think,
ABC
it was
is
specific
is
to.
a-
It was a very narrow test as well. Borello was.
So, I don't know if I would say it was too narrow. I mean, but it was a much easier test to pass than the ABC test because
Yeah.
you didn't have to make all 11 points on it. But no, the ABC test, from the lawyers that I've spoken to, from Loreana herself, this is what we've been told. So I know the bill is sort of a confusing mess. Especially for those of us who aren't lawyers and trying to read this stuff, it's really crazy. But no, from everything I've been told, and from both lawyers and Loreana herself, the ABC test does not apply for the business to business.
Okay, so if a person has the opportunity to form that business to business, I'll tell you there's a couple things that are going to happen. Number one, maybe things people don't understand so well now. Nobody's really getting this. It's really new in the water. But in about 6 months, people are going to be on this. Your employers are going to be on this. If you have at least a sole proprietorship, I would say, or an LLC that you can go in under,
Right.
that is going to be a huge advantage for you getting work, because not everybody's going to have that. And
Right.
there's people that are going to be stopped at
One
the
step ahead of you.
doorstep. Yes.
One step ahead of you.
And so I would say, just as anybody out there trying to fight this thing, first of all, whether you want to or not is not the question, but get in there and form an LLC at the minimum, a sole proprietorship, and get out there and make that known.
I think a side effect to this, though, and maybe Eric can talk to this, is that what a lot of people have run into, even those who have already formed LLCs or S corps, is that companies don't want to deal with it at all. They're too afraid of actually going against the law and their law departments, especially with writers and journalists and such,
Right.
is that companies just said, no, we're not going to hire you at all. We don't care what your status is.
And that's certainly for out of state too. A lot of people are looking at that going, no, we don't want any part of it. No one from California. Or I go this way. Somebody is planning to come out to shoot to California, and they go, California is just too problematic. We'll go to we'll go to Alabama's shorefront,
And that's actually that's actually something that we brought up to Loreana, that was brought up in our meeting, was the fact that, look, I live in San Diego. My office is, 5-6 blocks from the convention center. There's a lot of video work that gets done at that convention center. And when people come from out of state, if there's any kind of worry on their part as like, oh, if I hire a California crew, am I going to get in trouble? They're not going to do it. They're just going to start bringing out their own crew, and we're going to lose out on that revenue.
Yes.
And you're right about companies, worried about this law. I think there are a great number of companies that haven't really taken the time to really investigate it, see what it really says, and so they're just like cutting people loose, or just saying, you can go to them and say, yeah, I'm an S corp, I'm totally good, or I'm an LLC, I'm totally good, you're totally safe to hire me, and they're gonna be like, yeah, we're not gonna risk it. We just don't know, and we're
the
we're
unknown.
just too uncertain.
Yeah, the unknown. That's what's going to kill us. You know what I mean? Is that now? I mean, I would be all for this bill being repealed, and I'm uninformed as to what the ballot measures are out there, but I know our guy Jerry just here. He was you were just he had a ballot measure, right, where you went to somebody for AB5. Yeah. And so there are ballot measures out there. But let me just tell you this, and I'm going to go a little political right now, but, and I really,
No.
I know. Okay. I really don't want to go there, frankly. You know what I mean? But this is a Democratic bill, okay? Most Democrats, which the governorship, the Senate, and the Assembly, are all democratically controlled. You know what I mean? I believe they will bend to the will of the people if forced. But the only force that we have right now, and the vast majority, maybe one or two don't, of the Democrats, will do this. You need, and we put some a post in here in the comments of where you can find your assembly person, your senator, and you can contact them and you can tell them that you want that bill repealed. And if they don't support that, there is an election coming up, and I believe it's March 3rd. Don't know that for a fact, but sometime early in March. And the entire assembly is up for re-election. And this is your time to make it heard. This is your time to get out there and let them feel that heat, because an election is actually coming up. And I will tell you something, I'm just going to go. I'm an independent, but I have voted for Democrats the last 4 elections, okay? And with what's going on in Washington, D.C., and I don't want to be a hypocrite, I wouldn't do anything to further Trump's agenda. And I don't give a rat's ass if you want to unfriend me or any of that crap, you know what I mean?
Go, Burnie.
But I am just going to tell you, I think the Republicans are doing terrible things to the country, but how do you fight against somebody that is trying to end your livelihood? So I'm going to say either vote for a Republican or don't vote at all, but let them know why you're not voting. And let that be clear, because I'm telling you, we can't let this go by. This is too much Big Brother, in my opinion.
This is livelihood.
This is livelihood. This is, you know what, it's one thing for me to sit here with my company and be put out, and it's a hassle. There's some woman who's a makeup artist, right? Or a singer, or a translator, and she's actually trying to buy medicine for her kids. That's her problem.
Yeah.
I have no problem compared to that.
Yes.
That's who this is affecting, and I just, it's not fair. It's just not fair.
No, and this isn't a new business, video productions, film productions.
No.
California
was built on it.
Exactly. So why change it now? What is the problem?
I'll come back to this, and Eric alluded to this too. there are issues. We all know people that have been misclassified in this business. We all know people that have trouble getting their money. I mean, I rail about it all the time.
Sure.
I go, walk off the job at 12 hours if they're not paying you
Yeah.
overtime. You know what I mean? Do whatever. I tell people all the time, raise your rate $50.
Yeah.
But you know what? The rates are going to be raised $250
Yeah,
bucks
after
when
this
this
mess.
goes through, and that's going to be another thing that hurts the industry.
Sure.
But we know there's abuses. We know that. Fix those abuses. Don't start putting everybody in an employee category. That's just flat out ridiculous. I ask the question all the time. If you were an employee and you lost your job tomorrow,
Right.
what could you do to feed your family? Most people don't have an answer to that. Everybody in the freelance world understands what they can do
Sure.
to feed their family.
Sure.
It's just it's a real mess.
It is.
It's a real
It is,
mess,
really.
and we've
Sad.
got to end it. We've got to end it. There's no, and I don't believe in these exemptions and the fact that people go, oh well, this group, and now the writers I've heard. I don't know. I don't think we have this firm. But the writers have had been guaranteed an exemption.
Right.
And, that I don't believe, because that's what they're going to start doing. That's the next level. Oh, well, we'll exempt the photographers and then we'll exempt the writers. And now they don't have a good mouthpiece, or somebody's not writing against it.
Sure.
You don't want writers against you, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? All they can do is write about it, right? So they're going to do that, and they're trying to break the whole thing apart. This bill needs to be ended. It needs to be ended. And the only power we have is to threaten those people's jobs. Loreana's and my person, who I'm going to find out about, I know she probably supports it, but she's going to understand. Also, I'll say this, and I know that we've talked about this a little bit, Eric. We are communicators, people. We put the message out. Get off your ass and put the message out. Okay? Yeah, what do we got, Tony?
Actually, on that very note, let me see if I can get it up here. The OC Talk Radio.
Yes.
Who is listening into the interview right now?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks for listening. Let's see. That's not it. There it is. Okay. The law is 2 pages long, but there are 12 pages of exceptions.
Yeah.
Like still photographers. So why hasn't the movie biz used its muscle to carve out more exceptions?
Yeah. And I would just say this, the movie business is not going to do that. The movie business is big business. It's big international business. They don't have a problem with this. You know what I mean? It's the freelancers, it's the mom and pops, it's the little people that's out there. You know what I'd like to do? Everybody, if you're a freelancer, do this for me. On whatever social media you use, Twitter, whatever, I want you to take a picture of yourself and I want you to post this. AB5 is putting me out of business. And put that on your freelance. And then give them an idea of what you do and why it is. Just give them a couple sentences.
On your profile page.
On your profile
Bam.
page. Boom. Just like that. Do that. AB5 is putting me out of business. Put a face to it, people. Put a face to it. And I'll tell you what, get on, sign whatever petition, call your assembly person, call your senator. They need to hear from you on this. This can't fly. And here's the other thing. This, and as far as I know, Eric, this is the case, but I will leave it open that I could be wrong, but I think it did pass the House in the U.S. House of Representatives, which is once again another Democratic bill. And believe me, my sympathies are with the Democrats, not the Republicans. Right. I'll just tell you that. But the Democrats are dead wrong on this bill.
Yeah, so there is a bill that's in front of the House. I know there was debate on it yesterday. I believe it is HR 2474. I might have that wrong.
Yes, 2474. Yes.
That's it. So yeah, and the bill. So I haven't done enough investigation into the bill yet to fully understand everything that it says. But the problematic part for us in the bill is it's a bill aimed at union support and things like that. But the first part of the bill establishes nationwide that ABC test. So basically, if it were to pass and become law, it would mean that now, no matter where you are in the country, in order to be classified as an independent contractor, you have to meet ABC, which is going to be incredibly hard in just about everywhere. So and to come back to something that you had mentioned about like politicians, if you hate Washington and you hate Trump and you don't like the Republicans in Washington, okay, I get that. But let's distinguish between those Republicans and the Republicans we have in our state assembly and our state senate. It's two different groups.
Yes.
And
yes, I agree with that.
remember, the one party right now in our state government has a super majority. They can do whatever they want to do, and there's no checks and balances in this. And so while you may not like and want to vote for a Republican because of what's happening in Washington, just remember you're not voting for Washington Republicans. You're voting for state Republicans who are just trying to bring a little bit more balance into our state government to keep things like this from happening. If there was no super-majority, I would be real curious to know if a bill like AB5 could pass.
I doubt it.
Yeah, and so I think we just need to get a little bit more balance in our government. And if you want to be a single-issue voter this time around, I think that would be a great thing. But yeah, everybody needs to get out and vote. And I think your call to arms. We are media people. We can shoot, edit, direct, do all kinds of stuff to produce content. We need to be rallying around to do that.
Yes, and include your assemblyman. They all have a Facebook page now.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you tag them on that. You know what I mean?
And
Twitter.
Sure.
And all of that. Yes, I completely agree. And I agree with your point, Eric, too. This is not the Washington, D.C. This is our state. This is what has to happen here.
This is where we live.
This is where we live. And you've got to feed your family first. I mean, this is what it comes down to me. This, like I said, I'm not going to have I'm an old guy. I'm not going to have the tough time with this. I'd hate to have a family and 2 kids, be a freelancer. What if your wife is a camera assistant and you're a gaffer? I mean, what do you do then? You're going to get hit both ways.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It's horrible. It's horrible. So all I'd like to say is I'd like to encourage everybody, get out there and make your voice heard right now. Don't wait. Take a picture of yourself. Talk about AB5. Put a face to it. Put a face to it. All you producers who are out there, you think you're going through hell now? You just started a little business? Man, get it together. Get it together and make a piece.
The tidal wave is
Throw
coming.
it on social media. Get it out there, people. Come on. We're the communicators. I mean, a translator, what are they going to do? They're going to translate it. I mean,
there'll be nothing to translate.
There'll be nothing to translate. We are the message takers. Let's go. Let's get it on.
Yep.
So
I agree.
All right. Well, Eric, man, I can't thank you enough for your time today, brother. Anything you want to plug? Give us your company. Talk about where are we going to get a hold of you?
So I run 100 Acre Films here in San Diego. We do mostly corporate video. We do commercials occasionally. When I'm not doing that, I run the San Diego Premiere Pro user group for editors who edit with the Adobe toolset. So you can find us on Facebook, San Diego Premiere Pro user group. So yeah, that's it. I'm not a plug kind of guy. I guess if I had to plug anything, it would be, please get out there and vote. Make your voices heard on this. Do whatever you have to do to let your representatives know you don't like this bill, and let your not only state representatives but your federal representatives know as well.
Yes.
That we are an industry that doesn't work like every other industry. We're not Hollywood, and we don't have that kind of money and that kind of support. And a lot of times it's just like 1 or 2 guys that run a shop, and we depend on contractors. We need those freelancers. And let our legislative people know that.
You're killing small business, guys, and the freelancers that support them. Yeah, very well put, Eric. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, buddy.
My pleasure.
Well, yeah, and I think that's where are we at, Tony? We're there.
Stick a fork in it.
We're
Stick a
there.
fork.
Stick a fork in it. Okay. Hey, yeah, but look at the comments here. Check them out. Get a hold of your representative. Get a hold of your state assembly person and the senator. Call them. Make yourself known. Get on that social media. Get the word out there, people. Come on. All right.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Only you can prevent AB5.
Ooh, I like that.
like that one?
Yeah, give it. But let's do that. Only you can prevent AB5. Cut. That's a wrap.